Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, coming to you live from an undisclosed location here in the heartland of America. That's Wayne Steiger, my cohort, who I had the pleasure of meeting last week. And here we are this week for Not Another Sunday Show. Wayne says we got a lot of great topics, so I'm as excited as you are to find out what they are. What's up, Wayne?
Hey, Jeff, it was good meeting you. And
It
Cynthia,
was.
just enjoyed it immensely, had a great time, and got to do it more often now.
We will. We will.
So, Ben,
Jesus never lived. Is that what you were telling me?
yeah, I'm going to get this guy on my channel, Ken Humphreys. He's written a number of books. One that, this is the little follow-up, Jesus Never Existed. And I always like to have this as a combo. I have that one. Then I'm getting this guy on. As you can see, this is a great book. By the way, I would recommend this book for anyone who's looking for things. And then this is the final one. Have you read this one?
Yes.
Isn't this a freaking fascinating read?
It is. And for the empirical mind, there's no doubt that the brother just didn't exist.
I'm going, now, wait a minute. It's like, are we like the last guy on the deal team, or are we even on the deal team?
A lot of people just don't want to hear it, Wayne.
Well, I gave my $1,000 challenge to my audience, and my challenge is this. There is always this controversy about the name of Jesus. His name is Jesus. We get so tight around the axle. Our panties are tied in a wad because it's Jesus. It's Jesus. Well, here's my challenge. In the Gospel of the book of John, however you want to call it, we get this narrative of some cat that is supposedly being tortured to death. And they even get so descriptive that they, at the moment of where the spirit departs, they get into the Aramaic. They actually put it out there. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? So they get translators, put that into the Hebrew. My oddity to that little story is that if we proceed about a chapter prior to this, we have Pilate. Now, a governor, a proctor of Rome, that supposedly put the three names of the cat that was on supposedly that torture device. And odd, is it not, sir? What are those three names?
I know INRI is one of them traditionally.
No. You're not understanding me. I want to know why whoever wrote that book of John was so meticulous in writing in Hebrew what supposedly the last words were, but yet forgot to put what those three names were.
Oh, that's a good point. Do you have a theory?
Ladies and gentlemen, I present my case to you. This is a fraud. It never was. It never existed.
Absolutely. So it was just an omission, one of those things that the guy in continuity didn't catch?
Well, come on. Listen, if you knew what those three names were, there would be no controversy, would there?
That's an interesting point. Larry, Moe, and Curly, says Gary Baxter.
Ain't it just true, though? But so right there. Now, the last part, I gave him a 3-part challenge. That was the first challenge. The second one leads at the end of this supposed book to the first book, what we call the book of Acts. Now, in the last chapter of this book, that number one, that forgot the three names, how did that happen? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So we hear the last thing, that this name of this, whoever this cat was well known through Jerusalem, through all Judea and Samaria, and was spreading through far and wide. Well, oddly enough, we get into the book of Acts, and in the 4th chapter of the book of Acts, we've got now the two characters, Peter and James, that are standing before the Sanhedrin Council, having to give a whole narrative of a story of about a guy that apparently no one on the council even heard of. But yet, this is the same council that we get in detailed graphics that were pulling the hair out of his beard, slapping his face, saying, prophesy, prophesy. They're like going, who are you talking about?
Yep. It's the script SCRIPT. It's a script.
Yeah.
It's just not true. And Wayne, for a lot of years, we believed it was true. We banked our whole life on it.
I would have given my life on it.
Oh, absolutely. Gladly.
Yeah. I wouldn't have hesitated. It's like, yeah. And yeah, it's just the final point to all this is in the 27th chapter of the book of Acts, Paul giving his story between to Agrippa and Felix. And he goes and says this weird thing about how he saw this light come down on him and, the whole story. And then
when she changed 3 times.
Yes, 3 times. And then he says, well, the cat said, my name is in Hebrew, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Well, wait a minute. That couldn't be right. What was the Hebrew name? Why did suddenly we can't get the Hebrew name?
And it's funny, again, when you think about it, it's called the book of Acts.
Oh, true that, brother.
They're acting. It's nonsense. It never happened.
Oh, I mean.
And not to mention, he was so well known across the whole world, but not one person wrote down one word about him.
No, not one picture. I mean, the thing about it, we've talked about this. The thing about what I found interesting about the king at the time was that his whole thing, Herod, it was a mandate. It was a law.
And Nazareth wasn't even really a city when he was alive, by the way.
That every young person went to school to the age of 17. That's why Rome loved Judea. It was a pain in the ass, but the fact was this king and his subjects were very well educated. Very well educated. Look at what they did at Caesarea, the port. It's still one of the 8 marvels of engineering of mankind in the 1st century.
So you're saying Jesus, if he'd have been alive, would have gone to school until he was 17?
He would have had to. It would have been the law. More importantly than that, we have the graffiti from that era. A lot of that's called pornography, but the point is we have no drawings, we have no sketches, nothing of this supposed character that was going around doing all this. Philo was there in 35 AD. He didn't write anything.
And Philo wrote the history of the Judeans in the 1st century.
He did. And it was like
Jesus. And somebody mentions, why do you need a carpenter in the desert where there's no trees?
Yes. And isn't that an interesting tale as you dig the story? Apparently he was never a carpenter. If he existed, was a stonemason.
Probably a block mason, yeah.
Yeah. A mason.
But didn't exist. But interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. It just gets curiouser and curiouser, as Alice said.
Well, we're not in Kansas anymore. Oh, some of us are.
I still am.
Some of us are. But I thought just a way to kick off today. I mean, it's I just see the viciousness that comes from this that I was a part of. And someone tried to hand my ass in a hat this week. And it as I said, I'll put my money where my mouth is. If you can tell me, I gave you 3 opportunities where the name should have been easily understood, and not one. Why?
She said and she's quoting Alice in Wonderland. Take some tea, the March Hare said to Alice very earnestly. I've had nothing yet, Alice replied in an offended tone. So I can't take more. You mean you can't take less, said the Hatter. I've never read that story, so I guess I probably should.
Great movie.
But the dude was all opiumed up when he wrote it, right? Or he's on something.
I think he was. He was out in the spirits, you know, and that's literally what happens. I mean, you take certain of the herbs, they were designed to send the spirit out.
So are you an advocate of the herbs?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you study shamanic culture, and it goes back, thousands and thousands, at least to where we have records, as you see the solar flash I have on my back blackboard. But anyway, yes, herbs have always been used in all rituals, all connecting to the spirit realm.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never been an advocate of the herbs. I don't know if it's carryover from my old life, but I never really had much interest, maybe even a little bit of fear. So,
well, listen, even the Christian Jesus, wine was very much a part of it. Now, they'll
that's
tell
true.
you it is. And the reason why it was that it was safer to drink than water.
Mm.
And that's why they did. But
Kim Moss says that Alice in Wonderland was probably jumping dimensions.
I think it was. Excellent, excellent, Kimmy. That is just far out. I think you got
Not
it.
bad for a blonde girl in the morning.
Doing fine, doing fine.
You met Kim Moss. Kim was at dinner. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was just Mike. It was we had a lovely time. Lynn and I just enjoyed ourselves. It was that 2.5 hours just went like that.
Yeah. I thought it was so funny. We were talking about shooting a little bit, and I kind of mentioned Lynn might be the best shot at this table, and Lynn stopped us all and said, "I am the best shot at this table."
I'm not challenging her. We're at the range, and yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It was a great time.
It was a good time. We'll have to do it again. So there we go. I mean, one of the biggest controversies today, even within the religion itself, is that you have a religion that is so freaking ambiguous.
Oh yeah.
That you can't even get the name right. I could almost do Kirk on this.
Yeah.
Can't even get the name right.
Exactly. And I watched a movie last night because Jay Campbell's been telling me I had to watch it, and I finally just wanted to so I could just tell him, yes, I watched it. And it was the movie with Keanu Reeves called Replicas, about clones. How far down the road toward cloning do you think we really are?
I think we're there.
Do you? I just have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I have a hard time thinking that there really are clones out there.
I don't know. Have you seen the latest edition of the new sex droids, sex robots?
Strangely enough, I was just looking at that on the internet last night.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. It's like
something about they'll be indistinguishable from humans within a couple generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that mean they'll start nagging and complaining and stuff like that?
This is and you
That's
and Jay,
a little joke.
I know, talk about this all the time. We're seeing worldwide the rapid decline of sperm count, sperm quality.
Wayne, stop the presses, because Autumn Cardona says that she'd be willing to try a bot out.
Hey, listen, why not? I mean, there have been men, and I don't know, I guess women too, who have actually tried to have sex with spirits.
But I think all the sex bots are all girls now, right? I mean, they're not men. I'm not sure what Autumn's proclivity are, but I've never seen any men ones. Have you?
They do have men.
Oh, do they have men ones? Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. You've seen the ever ready bunny rabbit on the battery.
He just keeps
going and going. You got it. So
how many Hillary Clinton clones? Oh, and by the way, Hillary apparently brought the house down last night at the largest gathering of Democrats ever in the state of Texas. They standing ovationed her from start to finish, and she was on fire in rare form. So feeling speculation that she's waiting for Creepy Joe to implode so she can launch yet another bid for the presidency.
I don't believe the story. I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't believe the story. Okay, it's odd that we're talking about this. Lynn and I literally were talking this 30 minutes before I went on live with you. Something's up here. 2 weeks ago, the New York Times ran a whole piece on the fact of why it's time for Hillary and Bill to step back now and allow a new breed, a new generation to begin to lead the Democratic Party. And the fact that the book tour and the speaking tour that her and Bill on, they had to cancel because it was not being attended. And now you're telling me that out of the freaking blue, she brought the house down to the largest. No. I'm not.
They couldn't even give tickets away.
I'm not buying it. That's pure propaganda. I don't see any pictures from the event. All I'm hearing is
there was video. I saw video.
Yeah, but you know what? I come from that industry, and it's what they did for the Trump campaign in reverse. Yeah. Where you have large crowds that suddenly seem like they're very small, and then you have small crowds that seem to be very large.
Yeah. I mean, they just had everybody says how unpopular Trump is, and he just did a event somewhere, one of those Make America Great things, and it was like Woodstock. It was amazing, the crowd he drew.
I'm telling you what, I'm teaching magic over on my channel. Boy, I want to tell you what, talk about some ignorance that's with Americans and people in general. But
Kim says the audience was probably clones.
Something ain't right there. Just it smells.
It does. You start putting A and B together and you're like, this is a little weird.
Don't think so. But so Lynn and I were talking about the Drudge Report. And I told her, I said, there's spell casting going on there. I don't know what's happened to the Drudge, but I said, if you stand back, it's like you're reading a script. And I told her she could literally come in and testify to this. I said, they're painting a reality for people. And the Drudge wasn't used to be like that before, but now there is a thread that you can really begin to see. And I contend this. There is very powerful magic going on right now in Washington, D.C. Powerful magic. There is forces of good and evil that are being played out on a role that is so deceptive, Jeff. It's hard to tell. So Pelosi fabricated a complete story. It went out on Facebook. Facebook knew it was fake, but they defended it by saying, well, she could have perceived it that way. What we're seeing is the systematic, what I would call the dystopian agenda of these tech giants. No one gave these tech giants First Amendment rights, but they have to protect our First Amendment rights. And I contend to you, we're seeing the systematic enslavement of the entire planet by these tech companies who think they're above the law, they're above the morals, and you can see it by their bigotry and racism.
And Wayne, here's the thing. Everybody's talking about this video of Pelosi that got released that shows her slurring and all this, and it was done by some conservative group to make her look bad. And what I just realized, this is a brilliant stroke by pro-Pelosi forces. Now that they put this video out, every time she does slur and act like she's drunk or the Nancy bot malfunctions or something, they can just say, oh, it's those conservatives again with their fake videos. It's a preemptive strike because they know that Pelosi is breaking down.
Yeah, she's not well. And I predicted this, Jeff. Go back on my channel 2 years ago. I predicted this, and you're going to see it come into play. Friday, they lobbed the first salvo across the bow. They're going to be bringing in the 25th Amendment.
Yeah, you texted me that, and I'm looking at on Drudge Report, Donald Trump shaking hands with a sumo wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. In sumo wrestler garb, which is just that little thing around his midsection.
It's not a pretty picture. If you read the whole thing in context, so this 25th Amendment, wow. If it gets played, and I think they're going to do it. But I think they're taking it a step further. Not only do they want
the president to be deposed, but they want the vice president to resign.
And
who would that leave as president?
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi. And James Bond apparently is a real jerk too, says the Drudge Report.
Yeah, I don't know. But this is much more serious. I mean,
it's a coup.
Yeah, HBO, I guess it's Forrest Whitaker played the role. I guess it's been about 15 years ago, did a movie, HBO movie, where this very situation took place, except the difference was it was the vice president that was in on it.
And I mean, some have speculated that here as well. But I mean, you think about it, and Trump says there's treason going on, and he's probably right.
He is right. Clapper and his cohorts. Listen, Trump has already told Barr to completely declassify all of the documents. This is bad news for the deep state. For Clapper, for Comey, for all of them that were involved in this treasonous act. They tried, there was an active coup in full operation when President Trump took the oath of office. I don't know if Obama was behind it. I don't see how he could not have been not knowing about it, but there was, in fact, an active coup. And I contend, sir, they are scrambling now because that coup, if exposed, will bring a complete collapse of the Democratic Party.
And we go back again to predictive programming and trying to shield themselves. Wasn't it Pelosi who just floated maybe a week or two the idea of, well, what happens if Trump loses, but he won't leave office? What that tells me is that Obama was this close to saying, I'm not leaving office.
I think that was the case. I think it was a last minute. And listen, no one's brought crime and charges against Obama. Number one, for illegally sending $285 million to the Palestinian Authority that had no congressional, he had no authority to do it at all. And immediately sending, what was it that he sent the
the Iranians,
$30 billion on for, get this, for U.S. government private jets. Bundles of cash. Listen, what was taking place, people don't understand what happened on that fateful day in January of 2017.
That's some gangster stuff.
Oh, that's what his administration was. Why isn't Holder being brought up on charges in Fast and Furious? Just one of many operations. Why haven't we seen a complete investigation in what happened with Lynch and Clinton on the infamous meeting on the tarmac in Phoenix?
Tracy Dyer.
Why aren't we seeing? Go ahead.
No, please.
Why aren't we seeing John Kerry being brought up on charges as well? He broke the law. He was not authorized to be meeting with the Iranian government representing the United States. Who was Kerry representing?
Good point. Tracy says she thinks a big chunk of that Iran money went to Barack Hussein Obama, a.k.a. Barry Soetoro.
Yeah. I mean, this is big stuff. And we Americans are so lullified. Listen, we've got a generation that don't know what the hell they even think. The only thing that they can think of is what's on their cell phone.
Right.
And their reality is painted by 9-second news clips because that's the length of their memory.
Exactly. 9 is stretching it probably.
Probably on that.
Interesting so why aren't we seeing, we live in.
You know, you look at now what's happening in Congress is that we are seeing a complete shredding of the Constitution. What the Democrats are doing, all the way from Nadler, all the way down to Waters, Maxine, is it's abuse of powers. And the fact that they're trying to use the abuse of power, if this was done under the Obama administration, there would be riots in the street. Because it would be said that they were trying to illegally, in any way and every way, remove Barack Hussein Obama from office.
That's true. Am I the only one that thinks that Maxine Waters looks like Wheezy Jefferson?
That woman's batshit crazy.
She really is.
She really is. I mean, it's gotten to the point of absurdity where you have a,
There's an interesting debate. interesting debate in the chat room. Tracy Dyer is leading one side that says that arrests are coming,
No, they're not.
hatchet's going to fall, and there's another side that's saying, led by Nigel, saying, no way, you don't arrest the people or imprison the people that are in charge of the cabal. I tend to agree with Nigel. Nobody's going to get arrested.
No. They'll do a false flag event before that'll happen. Listen, and the Republicans
they'll mysteriously die before they get arrested.
The Republicans are no saints in this either. Listen, I contend it was the same cabal that was behind 9/11, and the Bush administration was actively involved in it.
Absolutely.
Can we get the audit of the Pentagon going again?
That'd be a good idea. And then there's Jared Kushner, Jared Kushner. About a week ago, we were in at LeakCon, and we were eating breakfast, and I was watching over, I think it was Jay's shoulder, that Jared Kushner offered a peace plan. Who the hell is Jared Kushner, and what's he doing offering peace plans? He's married to Trump's daughter. Yeah, great, but why does he all of a sudden have a peace plan?
Well, because him and Ivanka, they have this whole agenda going on. Ivanka had dinner with Pelosi.
Ivanka had dinner with Pelosi?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I'm telling you, we live in we're in the land of Oz. I swear.
That's sort of like Beauty and the Beast, isn't it? I
could have only imagined what that must have been like.
Wow.
I mean, we live in a time, man. It's so surrealistic that this is almost like this can't be real. We changed. We jumped into a different reality or something. I don't know.
So when Ivanka and Nancy Pelosi have dinner, they're not just out at Ruth's Chris, right? At a table, they put them in the back, or they're separated or something.
No, this is a private dinner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But is it at a restaurant typically, or are they somewhere in the White House?
Have you ever seen the office of the Speaker of the House?
No.
Okay, that office, if you ever get to go in, has its own private dining quarters.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a big pay raise. It's a permanent pension to be Speaker of the House.
That has to end.
Well, they're number 3 in power.
That has to end.
Americans have no idea about that. No,
make me king, and the first thing to go is, I don't know, would it be term limits number 1 or no pensions for any elected officials number 1? But that would be 1 and 2 for me.
I think number 1, term limits. I would give a senator, the opportunity to do, if you allow them to go for re-election once, that means they're in there for 12 years. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
With Congress, if you hold theirs to no more than 2 re-elections, that still puts them in technically for 6 years.
Yeah, I would probably go with precedents. The executive branch already has 8 years. We'll just make that across the board for the legislative and the judicial.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Up to and including the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, that has a lot of debate on that one, because the Supreme Court, and look what's happened. Kavanaugh is doing a complete 180.
It always happens.
It always happens. I mean, it's
because it's scripted, Wayne. You got to keep the drama going.
If we don't have drama, that's why I hate politics, because all it is a pot stirring. And now that I'm understanding magic,
you can see it in action, can't you?
Man, you really can.
The whole world is magic.
The spells that are done, because it's about control of this up here. If we were allowed to focus in on the things that we should be focused in on, politics would go away like that.
They would.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, it's not what Jefferson and Washington envisioned, the gentleman farmer going to serve his country for 4 years and coming home. They never understood this low level, lower than scum, lower than pond scum invention of this thing that would actually decide that it wanted to be a career politician. They didn't understand that human could sink so low as to say, let me be a career sucker at the teat of government. They never thought that anyone would ever do that.
Well, the problem is that we're deluded. We think as Americans that we live in a democracy. We do not. We live in a republic.
Yeah.
And a republic is governed. And today, if we were to be constitutionalists, wow, there'd be a lot of congressmen and senators and judges going to jail.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about this in this group that I'm a part of that said that they're afraid that the United States, the union, is going to break up. I got to tell you, Wayne, the union breaking up into the several states again, I think would be a great idea.
Well, that's technically what it's supposed to be.
That is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the federal government had a very limited role.
Until Mr. Lincoln took over.
And most of our viewers know this, is that the United States government is a corporation. That's why it's in that little island called D.C., the District of Columbia.
And Columbia is another name for America. I just learned that the other day, which is interesting.
Yeah, so it's in the District of America within America.
But talking about Trump and Drudge Report, and then Lincoln being the one that wrecked everything, the lead story in Drudge Report is that John Voight called President Trump the greatest president since Lincoln. Interesting connection there.
Yeah, I look at this whole thing, and you start with what happened with the war and the changes that it brought forth. And then 1913 is still, when Wilson had the infamous meeting on Jekyll Island, something happened to America at that point. That's when the Federal Reserve came about. And I think it was at that point the United States ceased to exist as it was visualized by the founding fathers.
Yeah, I would postulate that it was with the Civil War. That's why Lincoln started the Civil War, was so they could bring in the federal government and it was Lincoln that invented the IRS. It was Lincoln that laid the foundation for the Fed. And without Lincoln, that wouldn't have happened. So I would suggest that it was actually the Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War that was the beginning of the end of the Jeffersonian dream of democracy.
So you got the Republicans who brought in, the downfall of the Republic, but then you've got the Democrats who started the KKK.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and you're going, well, no one realizes that Byrd, who was in the Senate for I think he still holds the record. Listen, they literally had the guy, they had to have him in embalming fluid, roll him into the Senate so he could vote. It was the craziest thing I ever saw, but the dude was actually part of the original foundation of the KKK. And people don't read history. I mean, our whole history of American history is a bizarre trip, no doubt.
And what people don't get is back in the day of Lincoln, the Republicans would be identified by current standards as Democrats. They were the liberals. And the Democrats would be considered by modern standards the Republicans. They were the conservatives. So it was a complete 180 of the paradigm that we have now, which is probably what happens all the time, Wayne. Okay, time's up. It's time for the Republicans to be liberal now and the Democrats to be conservative. And we'll do this for a few years and we'll switch it back again. Well,
if we want to begin to be progenitors of the future, let's look into the future. I mean, here's the future. The future is the United States economy is going to collapse. It's going to get ugly. And no matter how many people want to take of the herbs, whether they want to do pixie dust, whatever, there is a day of reckoning coming for this country. We have a debt that cannot be sustained. We have a gross domestic product that if it hadn't been, now Obama takes credit for this, but who's ever responsible for, the economy does seem to be operating in certain areas at a very brisk pace. But at some point, Jeff, the bill's going to come due.
What if it doesn't come due, Wayne?
It's no. Economics, if you study economics within itself, listen, it's being admitted now. And Munchin, I think that I don't know if he's a solid guy. Who knows? He's smart. But as he said, we can't continue to monetize this ever-growing problem of our debt. Congress just passed a $2 trillion continuing resolution, not a budget. We haven't had a budget in this country since the time of Clinton.
Yeah.
We
got the king of debt in office right now, Wayne. Remember that?
Yeah. And like I said, at some point in time, the illusion, it's that commercial. I don't know if you've seen it about, I forget you. I think it was Morgan Stanley. They were going back to the 1600s in Dutch with the tulips. So in Holland, everybody was bidding the price of tulips, going up and up and up. And the one guy walks in and says, "It's just a tulip."
Yeah.
And everything collapses. I just read a story in Forbes that said that the millennials are in more debt than any generation ever. In fact, that their debt is so great that most likely when they begin to get to where the boomers were, the reduction is going to be, they can't afford housing. They can't. Look at what a car costs today.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I say, Jeff, it's just a matter of time, and maybe they already know it. Listen, I did work as a consultant for the Federal Reserve, and we back in this is 2012, we actually did an exercise of this very scenario. How would you get cash to a society in the event of a major disruption? And the three different disruptions were something globally, debt-wise, militarily, or something that affected the whole electrical grid.
Interesting.
We were divided up into 4 teams, and we had competitions as to what would be the plan. How do you get cash? How do you get it to the survivors that would have to have the necessity to begin to get some semblance of a society back together?
Interesting points. And Tracy Cooper makes a good point. Lincoln was good friends with Karl Marx. In fact, a lot of people believe that Lincoln was himself a socialist. And another little fact that most people don't know is that in his work, Mein Kampf, a fellow named Hitler says that he used Lincoln's takeover of the American government as an example of what he did with the Third Reich.
Now, that's very revealing. Again, history coming into play here. So would you say that Hitler was a smart guy?
Oh, yeah, Hitler was a brilliant guy.
I think he was. I think he was a genius. And obviously, the plan works. I mean, it worked beautifully for Lincoln.
It did.
His cohorts did pretty good for Germany, but Hitler went off to the other extreme. But listen,
it did great for Germany until Hitler decided that Hitler just, you still can't explain how everything was going perfectly for him. And then all of a sudden he just started acting stupid.
He just got weird. But, wait a minute. I was going to say that what the death toll that Hitler brought, but listen, the Civil War, how many Americans died in that? Several million, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, someone in the chat room could probably give us the exact number, but
I'm fixing to get it for you.
Okay, it extracted a huge toll on us.
620,000 soldiers.
600.
No, here it is. Listen, 1.2 million soldiers have died in all the nation's wars. Over half of them in the Civil War.
Half of them.
Yeah.
Half of them on our own soil. I contend it was a blood sacrifice.
Oh, it definitely was a blood sacrifice. There's no doubt about it.
One of the largest ever. World War II, I think, was an opening of portals to demigods, to this book I'm reading.
And how many civilians died is a great question from T.L. Clark.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's my point. I mean, that's just the soldiers. We don't talk about.
Sherman marched through the South with orders, much like from Yahweh, kill everything that breathes,
burn
everything else. Yeah.
The rape, this is what we did. That's a sacrifice, folks. That is a sacrifice. And I contend abortion is the same thing. It's nothing more than a sacrifice than what we were doing 5,000 years ago when we were sacrificing to Moloch.
What about these heartbeat laws that are being passed, Wayne?
Well, I mean, what do you define life as? If it isn't by heartbeat, listen, when you die and they try to resuscitate you, what do they look for? A freaking heartbeat.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's true.
I mean, the insanity. The Democrats, I love how their platform, they're all for women's rights and life, but don't talk to me about the life in the womb.
How about equal rights for unborn women?
You know what? Let me just see. Here's where the debate needs to go to. Democrats, Republicans, independents. When is consciousness a soul and spirit? We know babies react in the womb. Fetuses laugh, they kick.
And who's smart enough to make that decision?
I haven't seen any human being yet. But Yahweh certainly commanded them to cut the babies out of the wombs, didn't he?
He sure did.
You tell me.
He sure did. It's craziness.
I don't know.
Oh, Amanda says that at 24 weeks, her cousin was born and survives to this day. That's amazing.
Well, yes. Look where they can actually now bring preemies out of the womb and they still live.
Yeah. Amanda's son, 34 weeks, and Lincoln did the first false flag. I agree. The first false flag was what happened in Charleston Harbor. Do you know the story on that, Wayne?
No.
Charleston Harbor was the last federal, Union fort in the South after the South had proclaimed secession. And the South was supplying it every day with fresh food and taking good care of them. And Lincoln decided to sail the Union Navy into Charleston Harbor with orders not to shoot. So their guns are all ready. Their guns are all blazing, but Lincoln ordered them not to shoot. So what happens, of course, when the Union Army floats into Charleston Harbor with their guns ready to fire? What did the South do? They fire on them. So Lincoln was ready to sacrifice those guys, and I don't know how many of them died because the South was firing on them, but the Union refused to return fire because it was just there to draw fire from the South so we could say the South fired the first shot. Exactly.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, that's exactly what's been played out time and time again for us.
And it's so funny. We mentioned abortion, and a couple people in the chat room go wild. It's so amazing to see how woke people can act so unwoke when you bring up a trigger issue.
Life is life. I mean,
yeah.
I'm reading this book right here.
Leslie, you tell us when life begins. Since you're smart enough to know, let us know, please.
Yeah, I'd love to know. When does that consciousness come in? Because I can tell you, it appears that folks.
And now we're all clueless. Well, why don't you, Leslie, tell us, help us, do your duty, do your service to your fellow human, and enlighten us, Leslie Wilson. Since you know, please, would you tell us, when does life begin so we can end this debate once and for all here today, and we can know when it is acceptable to butcher a child in the womb and when it's not acceptable? Please let us know so we can have it all figured out and we can all be as smart as you. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
It is a good book, Denise. Yeah, I don't understand why people take this position. Life is life. It's precious.
Where'd you go, Leslie?
She left.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, she left. It's sad because the fact is that the moment that spark of divinity takes place, it's life.
And you know what, Wayne? The book of John says that as soon as we take our first breath, and I mean, that could be an argument, that we have the spark of divinity within us. So, I mean, that could be one of Leslie's arguments, but she decided to run instead of talk. So that's okay.
But didn't Matthew go through great lengths about Elizabeth and John and how John leaped for joy in her womb? I mean,
that's a good argument too.
All right. So if we're going to take this from a theological point of view, we know from a logical point, they have life. You can't tell me that that child isn't in there. There's a child. And if you're just saying because there is a millimeter difference between that, I say that child's breathing already because she's breathing or he or she by the mother's umbilical cord. The whole placenta is an amazing organ.
That's interesting.
The way that the mother's blood vessels cover it, it looks like the tree of life.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's and the placenta is the only temporary organ, and get this, that is unique to each person.
That's interesting. And I've done a lot of work with people where there's many people that have memories from the womb, Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Apparently you can. In this book, Journey of Souls, people remember their birth. And apparently it's traumatic. I'm thinking to myself, no kidding. I mean, you're squeezing my head through what?
Yeah. You know? So why did Leslie run? She has to yell and scream at everybody and then just run. I don't get it. Why not stick around and have a conversation about your convictions?
Because it's intellectually dishonest. And that's the problem. And, the thing is, I refuse to be put into a corner or categorized. I'm just saying, folks, you know what? A heartbeat's a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And if that's how we measure death for you and I, then why can't we use that same very foundation to the body inside the body?
Leslie says there will always be abortion, just not safe abortion if you legislate. Can I say there will always be murder, just not safe murder unless you legislate? That would be the other side of that. What is safe murder? I want the right to safely kill what is inside of me when we're not able to yet determine when it is sentient.
Here's the whole argument, Leslie. You're trying to say that you're a god, that women are above even God itself.
Oh, and Landon says, you mean a coat hanger's not safe? Ooh.
No, Leslie, I'm not wrong. You are saying that a woman has a right to her body. That's what the argument is. But that argument fails on the foundation if you carry it forward. What right does this woman have in her body that once that she has understood there are laws and principles, always will be, they'll be in the spirit realm, Leslie. Now, sweetheart, I know you may not like it, but what you've done is that you've elevated yourself. And here's the thing, when you sacrifice blood, you have to understand it doesn't go to the ground unclaimed.
One thing that I've always thought about, Wayne, was in this country, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you take away the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to the pursuit of happiness are superfluous. And if we could know for sure when life begins, then we could actually have this conversation.
Yeah.
But we don't know when life begins.
We don't.
We really don't know when life begins. And somebody mentioned rape and incest. Do you know that less than 2% of all abortions are performed for the case of rape or incest? So that's really a straw man in the argument. So,
it is. Yeah.
I mean, if a baby was born in the delivery room and the doctor went crazy and started bashing its head in and killed it, he'd go to jail for murder, wouldn't he? But 30 seconds earlier, he can suck its brains out and it's just a medical procedure. There's a disconnect between those,
Leslie,
those positions.
You're taking this position. So what you're saying is that fetus doesn't feel pain.
Anyway, it's crazy.
Come on. And let me say this. I'll just carry it over to the spiritual realm. If you take that same argument, you're going to be a spirit when you die going into a different realm. What if they took your same attitude with you coming in?
It's interesting. And I understand the idea that I want to, that women want to be in control of their body and they don't want to be told what to do. But weren't you in control when you decided to have sex too?
This is just one of these arguments of the dog chasing its tail.
It is.
It's listen, that is life there, no matter how you want to look at it. And in fact, in the United States, in many states, there is a law which is called the fetus law, that if you kill the mother and then she is pregnant,
that's right. You
will be charged with another murder. So I don't give a damn what your position is. The laws of the land say that if a woman is killed and she's pregnant, 2 murders have taken place. So how can you have 2 murders if there wasn't 2 lives?
And, Blazing River, obviously employing satire, says in 20 years, parents will be able to abort up to 30 years old. If your kid's still at home at 30, you can abort them.
I tell you, we are just, this is why we haven't progressed as a species. We're not enlightened. We're still doing barbarism. I've contended from the day one. I don't care what your position is. It's a sacrifice to a deity. Whether you believe in that deity or not, it's taking the full energy, and it's energy.
Yeah.
It's spiritual energy.
And Tracy says, give them abortion if we can take the irresponsible mom out at the same time. Ooh, it's getting rough.
Fighting words.
It is.
Fighting words. I mean, we're going to get all wrapped up around on this one. And
we are.
Come on, folks.
But we're supposed to be enlightened people. We're supposed to be people that are spiritually in tune. How can you so callously argue for the right to act with omniscience when we are far from that?
Yeah.
I just don't. Until we know, we don't know. And if you don't know, the best thing is to just not do.
And the thing about it is, the people that I see who get most wrapped around this argument are never impacted by it.
Yeah. And Leslie says, lame arguments, the real logical and pro-life argument defends the rights of the woman, not the unborn. Its spiritual energy moves on. What about the unborn woman, Leslie? What about her rights?
And Leslie, what about the charge? Are you saying all these state legislators are wrong? Would you say that as your liberal position of women's rights, that if your friend who was pregnant and was murdered, that 2 charges are going to be brought, you're going to say, oh, no, Mr. Prosecutor, that baby didn't live. It doesn't matter.
So we have to change those. You have to change those fetus laws then. And, there's let's just go. I at one time thought I wanted to be a lawyer. If I'm a lawyer, everything in the law is based on this thing called precedence. And the precedence is that if you murder a pregnant woman, you're charged with 2 murders. Ergo, that life in the womb is a life. So we are committing murder every time an abortion is perpetrated. That's a logical, legal argument.
Yeah, it shows you how insane we are as a species. And I'm not going to get baited into the argument anymore. Leslie, You have your views. Go with it. Live long and prosper, dear. Hope you have fun with that. It's not my ball game and not my monkey. You can keep it. I'm moving on. I got more serious things to deal with than an argument that's inflated by, how should we say, idiots.
Not my circus, not my monkeys.
Yeah. So have your rodeo. I'm not going to participate.
Wow, that's interesting. The last argument I would ever expect to hear in a enlightened chat room, but it's interesting.
Yeah, that's
to talk about one more thing about rape, life of the mother. Those things are not abortion on demand. Those are medical issues that a doctor and a woman need to decide on. Rape, incest, the life of the mother. That's not abortion on demand. That is a medical emergency. So let's not confuse the issue.
And again, not to be callous or hard on this one, but that is a small percentage. And if that's where your argument is going, it's going to fail.
It is going to fail. It's less than 2%.
So if you see, I ain't buying it. I ain't
Tracy says, proof number 3,769 that the term woke is meaningless.
Ain't that the truth? In the end, it's the discovery of the journey. That's why I left politics. I mean, I saw the insanity of it. It's a game. It's a game of control. This argument that we just went through, it's a game of separation. It's a game about dividing. I mean, because in the end, why isn't it that?
Ooh,
what?
Gary Baxter. What if the pregnant mother was murdered on her way to the abortion clinic? And it's still going to be 2 murders. Oh,
this thing would say that's some bad karma coming down on someone.
Wow. And I had a brilliant point to make, but I forgot what it was.
You forgot?
It was going to solve everything.
Well, and isn't that how it goes? It's that last second, boom.
I blame Gary Baxter for that bomb he dropped, but that was a good one.
It's excellent. And
so the pregnant woman gets murdered on her way to the abortion clinic. The guy that shot her gets charged with 2 murders, but she was about to get one of those lives snuffed out, and it only cost her $19.95. And that was the point. Abortion is about one thing: making money.
It's all about. It's a profit industry.
Yep.
If it was such a benevolent industry, I mean, why are Americans paying to this industry billions and billions of dollars?
Oh, and here's another one. Hilly Caper, you're pro-life and pro-guns? Yeah, I am, as a matter of fact.
Uh-oh. You're going to be on a list. I'm already on the list.
Bald eagle embryos are federally protected.
Yes. Yeah. A very good point. So, Leslie, I know you've left by now.
This is a great show.
I know you've left. So let's see the insanity of man in our thinking.
You know what's so ironic, Wayne? This is an ironic world. Something just popped up on my Macintosh and said Sandra D's 42nd birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday to Sandra D.
Okay. But here's the thing. We will send you to jail for destroying eggs
of an eagle.
Oh, in fact, I think there's a lot of different species on there.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. But we destroy, according to you, which is nothing more than an egg.
Leslie says the majority of women agree with her. Well,
I don't think so. My wife would, Leslie, you wouldn't stand a chance. But hey, let's keep the conversation.
Blood and money. Absolutely.
Leslie, as I said, you got your view, sweetheart. Have it, cupcake.
Oh, Cynthia L. throwing another bomb. We protect animals and kill babies.
That'd be right, Cynthia. Now you see, Leslie, does Cynthia agree with you? Cynthia, do you agree with Leslie?
And I can vouch 100% that Cynthia L. is a woman. So,
and I know that to be a fact as well. I
you
know
better. That's right.
So women in this poll here in the chat room, Leslie says,
and another woman, Tracy Dyer, says Leslie proved that she doesn't make good decisions when she got pregnant.
But Leslie says, Tracy, the majority of women in this chat room agree with her.
No, they don't.
Okay. Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
You got some explaining to do. Wow, it's crazy. And it's sad. It really is. But it's just about money. It's about money.
Listen, and folks, there is no need for it to separate any human being on any topic. There's always a meeting point. So, Leslie, you believe that? That's fine. That's your reality. That's your world. It's not mine. It's probably not a majority of the people within in here.
Ooh, see, Ray, Democrats want to save children at the border, but not in the womb.
Ain't that a fact?
We got some good stuff going on in here today.
Oh, we can get all wrapped around this one. I mean, so let's see. How many homeless do we have in the United States who are American citizens? But these illegals that the Democrats are letting in by the millions, dumping them off in the middle of the night into cities across the United States. Let's see. They get free health care. They get free housing. They get free food. They get free transportation. But yet, how many millions of Americans and families are on the streets that get nothing from the Democrats?
Can I read something that's brilliant?
Yeah.
Woman's ego, ego, makes the EGG go, egg go.
There go the ego. I love that.
Let go my
You know what,
ego.
folks?
That's what Leslie's saying. Let go my ego. But
Go my
I,
ego.
and it wasn't. Oh, here's interesting. Oh, I don't want to go down this path.
No, I mean
Yeah,
this
let's
has gotten
forget it.
antagonistic enough,
It
and
has.
you
I
know,
mean, the egg is the woman's body, but when the sperm joins with it, doesn't it become something else that's not really of the woman's body?
yeah, you
It's
see,
a third entity.
and yet,
Anyway,
so it's insanity.
it is insanity.
It is. It's designed to scramble your brain. You know, it's like, oh well, that Jeffrey and that Wayne. Oh my God! I mean, they look like they're a bunch of conservative right wingers here. You know?
It should be interesting to see how my 50-50 male to female split looks after this show.
Yeah. You know, it's
Kimmy Moss hits on the nail on the head. It's unfortunate that we even have to have this discussion.
it is. It's gotten to the point where life is life.
Tracy says it's somebody else's body the woman is messing with.
I kind of
Ooh.
look at it like this: who would have had the right to snuff out my existence?
Exactly.
My parents, they weren't the brightest. They were kids. And
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah.
No, Ray, it would. Roy, it wouldn't. If you're born gay, would it be okay if your Christians to abort you? How would you know that a baby was
Now
born
that's
gay?
just absolutely asinine. I mean, seriously, that's the most asinine thing I have heard all day. You take the top. What the freak is wrong with people?
How do you know a baby's born gay? What? Because it comes out singing Barbara
My-
Streisand? I don't know.
I just don't.
Or maybe
get
a
it.
baby girl is born with a short haircut and a big dog. I don't know. That's how you know they're gay.
I
Interesting.
mean, the IQ is going down.
Interesting.
Yeah, this
ladies
has
and
been an
gentlemen.
interesting one today. Woo!
It is.
Sorry. Okay.
Maybe we can come up with a gay test. You can when they show them pictures of Elton John and see how they react.
All
It
right.
sounds like a new Simpsons episode.
Oh man, I can't take any that. Yikes.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Well, here we are again.
Yeah, at the end of another hour of love and fellowship.
Yes, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Peace, everyone. Like love, not war. You know.
So we Gary says all we need is a gaydar meter, and we can tell which anyway. So thanks to all of you for being here, including you, Leslie.
Yes. You know, favor on your journey. You know, you seem to be very angry, Leslie, but that's cool.
Yeah, very angry.
Yeah.
What can you do to get rid of anger?
You know what? You
Chop
learn to
some
love.
wood.
Yeah. I always say peace.
Do some exercise.
Yeah. Love everybody, man.
Love everybody.
You know, everyone, you don't want everyone thinking like you. That would be hell.
It would be boring, wouldn't it?
It'd be hell. It would be hell. Although hell doesn't exist, I guess. So I guess in this case, it's a good thing. I don't.
Kimmy Moss says, thankfully, my mother didn't believe in abortion.
Yeah, that's what we all can say. And so we can have this intellectual debate. But the fact is, the fact that none of us were aborted, so we could have the debate.
Yep.
Insanity, Jeff. Insanity.
Fun. Well, yes. Wayne, what do you got coming up on your show this week?
Oh, man, we got some great stuff. Got Doc Reck coming back on and going to continue on teaching on magic. We're going to get into death. This book here really talks about, you know, the journey of the transition of the spirit from the physical. And reaching out to Ken Humphreys. I want him. We're going to talk about the fact that Jesus never was. So what do you got going on? I know you got a lot going on. You're heading out to the desert again.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to be able to have Rocky Stucci tonight for the Shut Up and Listen. He'll be coming back from Texas. He's probably not going to be able to make it. But tomorrow night we do have The Last Stand. We've got probably one of the most prestigious guests we've ever had. I don't even want to use his name, but he is going to come and talk about the whole QAnon and all of that stuff. And he's never been on any show before, so that's going to be very powerful.
Cool.
With Jay Campbell. Wednesday night, I'm going to have a young tarot reader known as Soulfullish Girl on. Looking forward to that. Then Thursday, we do have the Consequential Rapscallions, and I'll be headed to the desert for Contact in the Desert, be hanging out with Jay and Robert Stanley. We'll do a lot of podcasting from there, and probably maybe a podcast floating in the lazy river at the JW Marriott Resort.
Cool deal. Now you actually, this is a convention.
Yeah, this is the largest UFO convention.
Okay.
I mean, all of them are there, name a name, except for David Icke, and they're all there.
Well, cool. Well, hope you make contact.
Well, I mean, we're trying to go, shake some hands and hand out some cards and get some new, get some people to come on the show with Rocky and the show with Jay. So you know how it goes. Yeah.
I mean, the thing with YouTube these days is getting really whacked out.
It is.
Whacked out.
So it's going to be fun.
Success. Good. Now that's next weekend.
Next weekend, we'll fly out Friday morning and spend the weekend and come back Monday.
Good. Well, good success out there, my friend.
Thanks, Wayne. It'll be fun. It's never a bad thing when you spend the weekend at the JW Marriott.
No. I personally,
You don't like the Marriotts?
I'll take the Ritz.
Just a note, Wayne. Ritz is owned by Marriott, so you're still,
I know it is.
Still giving money to Marriott.
Property,
yeah,
but anyway, no, the
Ritz is a step up, absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I would have to say, except for the one in Philadelphia.
Never been to the Ritz in Philly.
Yeah, anyway.
It's not what you were expecting, huh?
Little. Shut up while I'm ahead.
All right, then.
All right. Have a good time. You and Cynthia, just enjoy the time. So we'll see. Are we going to do a show next week?
Yeah, we'll do a show. Absolutely.
Okay,
we'll do it live from Palm Desert.
Excellent. All right. I'll be looking forward to it.
All righty then, Wayne. Good to see you. He's Wayne Steiger. Go subscribe to his channel, R Wayne Steiger. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Subscribe before you leave. And
hit the like button.
If you like the show, give it a thumbs up. Leslie, you can give it a thumbs down. And all the other people that didn't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let your voice be known. I mean, where else do you get to say you guys suck or we like you? So please do one of them.
It's not like we've never heard that before.
No, that's for sure. All right, Wayne. Good to see you, my brother.
Thank you, Jeff.
Real soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.